So I'm going to move on to talk about the actual revolution itself now. And
All right.
obviously, I mean, this all was sparked in Tunisia. It's a country I'm familiar with myself. I have
Yeah.
family there.
Hmm.
And that spread then to countries like Libya, to Egypt. And we saw what happened in those countries. What happened in Syria exactly?
Like the all we call it the Arabic Spring when it started in Tunisia, as you said. Like we were watching as Syrians, as all the world was watching what's happening. So as normal people were watching. Oh, that's something that we are unfamiliar with, especially the new generation, that my generation, like my father's generation, they remember the 80s when it happens in Syria, and that was too bad what happens then. So we were like kind of scared of any thinking even about doing something like that. But when we see what happens in Tunisia, that they do a normal revolution, they went into the street, they gather together, and then he leaves. In Egypt happened the same. We say like, oh, so is it that easy to do it? So what we thought is we could do it. So everyone at that time that have that idea of doing a revolution in Syria, but nobody can start, because it was too much intelligence people all over the place. Like you can just talk and somebody was outside, he might hear you, you're gone. So what happens exactly was the spark for that. What happened in Syria is there was a kids in the south in a city called Dara. They were playing, and of course, as everyone in Syria was hearing the same thing about all over the news about revolutions here and there. So mostly it was talk about adults, but then the kids hear it, and what they do is they went to the school. They write on the wall of their school, "It's your turn, doctor." What means exactly? It's for the president, because our president is a doctor. So that at that time, those kids, they were between 10 and 12 years old.
Oh.
It was around 7 kids. They're all arrested. They all taken to the intelligence centers. They are tortured. They are like nails. Their
And these
nails
are
are
children.
yeah, and they are children. So in Daraa and that area of Syria, it's tribes. It's not like city, normal city. It just tribes. People are knowing each other and everything. So the head of their tribe, they gathered together. They went to the intelligence center. They made a protest in front of it, and the leaders of them, they went in. They meet the head of that center, and they said, "Look, we will make it peacefully. Nothing will happen. We need our kids back, and let's end here." But what happened is because our government is kind of the crazy, they don't put down for anyone. What happens is one of those kids are killed, and two of them like just permanently hurt. So what happens is the protest continues in front of that center, and those people who was standing there after 2 days have been like shot by direct guns on them. Then it's when all the people heard about that story and what happens, and because Dara, as I said, it's Troy, so everyone else comes to protest again. They protest more and more. It screws up that much, and then the media was saying no, there's nothing happening in Dara. It was just some tourists who attacking intelligence center has been shot back, and all this crazy stories. Like as Syrians, we know that stories are it just you're lying. So it moves to the idea that we can do it. So if we can do it, that's the time that we have to do it. So everyone was trying, and protests starts everywhere in all over the cities, except in my city. It was because it's the economy capital. It was the government or the regime. They are focused too much on it. Like between every two civilians, there was one intelligence.
Right.
You can say. But even though it starts here, and we started around in April, the revolution itself starts in March. We in my city we started in April to go protest in the streets. We went here and there. At the end, we like as personal. I gathered with my group of my friends. We said, look, the only place we can gather together in big number of people was the mosque. We didn't go there like many people who see that, oh, this revolution starts from the mosque, it's Islamic revolution, it's radical, it's something like, no, it just was, that's the only place that we can gather together without any interruption. So we went there. We said, look, after the prayer finish, we just started from there and we go out. But every time we started there, we go out. There was like massive number of you can find all types of security. You can find army, you can find police, you can find intelligence, you can find even those groups that we call them militias.
Yeah.
Militias for the government that are they are civilians, but they're working with them. And many accident happens that there's people killed. Even there was no direct guns shots on people, but even though there was people dying by knives, by everything.
And can I just ask you, who were the people leading these protests? Was it mainly young people, or was it from across the spectrum?
It was all people, everyone. Like you can't see old people, you can see very young people, you can see in the middle age. Everyone was there, and it wasn't by someone leading, because you can't make a group and make it kind of what they call it, organize it. You can't organize that thing, because any idea comes to the government that this gentleman is organizing protests and a group of people to do protesting or doing something against the government, this guy will be disappeared. And I was one of them in later stage in July and
what
September.
form did the protest take?
Like at the very beginning, I remember that in April, May, it was just we need to fix the system. No one was shouting about leaving or changing complete system or changing the regime or changing the president. No, we were just saying, look, this country is corrupted and need to be fixed. That's all we need. We need some freedom. We need some, end of the corruption, kind of things in the process of anything need to be fixed. That's all. But then when people start dying and being killed, then no, look, it's not just, they don't want to fix anything.
And that's what I was going to ask next. What was the reaction of the security forces to the protests and the government?
Like at the very beginning, as I said, it was shocking even for them that they never expect the people of Syria to go on protesting, because they know how hard they are and they know what they can do, and they know how people fear from them, because even before the revolution, anyone who, go to intelligence center, nobody can expect what could happen to him. He might go for years for no reason, sometimes for no reason, and sometimes could, they just release him for nothing. So it was shocking at the very beginning for them, and they didn't know what to do. But what takes all the leaders of those centers is that we are the power, we can do whatever we can, and those people doesn't matter for us at all. Those lives, families, anything, that doesn't care. They have to stop to do that. So their solution was kill some of them, the rest will fear from that, and they will go back home. That's it. But what happens is the opposite. They kill some people, and what happens is more people comes to the street, and it grows up by that, because I don't know, like it was, just crazy things going in their head that no, as more you kill, as more they fear. And what was happening is the opposite, obviously. It starts by killing few people in Dara in March, but what happens is we have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who went to the street because of that. So yeah,
very
it was
really.
Yeah, it's just crazy thing that at later stage, when it starts of June, they start using direct fire on people. So I had many occasions where there's guns or there's bullets running all over me, running around me.
Well, as we're moving on to, can you tell me about your personal experience in the revolution, about your involvement?
Actually, at the very beginning, as I said, we heard. I was in university. I have a friend who his brother was serving in the army, because we have a forcible serve. You have to serve for 2 years in the army when you are 19 or after you finish the college. So his brother was in the army at that time, and he was in Dara. He was one of the units that's serving very close to that city. And what they did is they take them into that city, and they told them, as we know later, like they told them that there is a terrorist group in this city. There's no civilians in that city left. All people there, anything moving is a terrorist.
They're terrorists.
They informed them that everyone who's moving is a terrorist. So kill anyone you can see.
Yeah.
And so at the very beginning, I was in university, that's my friend. I said, look, did you hear the news and what's happening in there? He said, like, yes, but I don't know, there's something weird here. He said, like, at that time, no one even knows that there is an army in that city, that the army and tanks and everything went into that city. They surrounded it and they went in. So I said, let's talk to your brother. Let's try to reach him. And we talked to him, obviously, and we said, like, look, and of course, over the phone, you can't talk like very clear because, we're afraid of to being, checked or, somebody's hearing other than us. So we asked, like, where are you at the moment? He said, oh, I'm in Dara. He said, like, the city or in your unit? He said, no, I'm in the city. There's few group of people who are terrorists are fighting here, so we are just clearing them and we'll go back. That word, like, I know he wasn't knowing exactly what's happening, but for us who's outside, he said, look, they are just lying, or just lying about everything. So this point, I started saying, look, this government need to be changed, this president need to be removed. So look, we will try to do whatever we can do. So we gathered a group of friends and we said, look, let's try to do our own protest, and then anyone who who's have the same ideas, he will join us by its own, because we can't just tell the people, because anyone you tell, he might go to the intelligence center and say, look, this is what tells me. So we started there. As I said, we went to a few mosques here and there. After the prayer, we go out to the protest. It gathers a few other people who went with us, but then it was pretty risky for many people who was just watching until, like, we grew up little bit by little bit until July, where in July it was the biggest one happens in Syria, in my city, in Aleppo. It was in a mosque also. We went in, and we know, and I know at that time that this time it was different, because, like, we know that even the intelligent know that there will be a big protest after the prayer in that mosque. So I went in, I said, look, I told my parents, look, I might not come back today. So either I'll be arrested or killed. It's one of those two solutions. Like, I don't have no solution other than that. So I went there. When I went there, like, on the way, I see the amount of security. They closing all the roads around that mosque. There's around 2,000-3,000 of security around that mosque, of all types of security, intelligence, army, everything. They went there. So look, I asked my friend. I said, look, we're not coming back today. That's it. So he said, okay, let's do it. It just, you can't just keep silent. The only thing that you can do is this. So do it. Don't care about what's the next. So we went there. We went to a protest. What we call it, the safe move that we did is that we closed the doors of the mosque so they can't attack it. So we won't go out, and nobody will go out, because if you went out, that's it. But so we stayed in. We said, look, we'll do as much as we can inside, and then we try in the back door, and whatever we can do. Whoever runs, he runs. Whoever arrested. Like, you choose whatever you do. So yeah, that's what happens.
And were you arrested yourself?
Yeah, at that day I was arrested, because what happens is, many people, when we decided to go back to the back door, like, we did it once before and it was successful, but the next week on Friday when we went there, it was the biggest, as I said. So they know what will happen, and what they did is they just closed the back door. They close it fully. They just will build a wall in front of the back door. So anyone who tried to open it, there's no solution. The only way is going towards them. So what happens at that day, we closed the doors and we started the protest. We went for 1 hour, which was a miracle for us to stay for 1 hour there. And at that point, they just break the door of the mosques and they went in. Many of the people, because there was around 3,000-4,000 of protesters over there, so they don't want to arrest 5,000-6,000 in one shot. They don't have the ability to do that. So what they do is they open because we have 2 doors. They open one door, let the people go. Whoever want to go, let him go. But whoever stays, that's it for him. And that's what happened. He was one of 72 persons who decided to stay in the mosque.
You stayed?
Yeah.
Okay.
We tried, like, it's a point where you just don't care about anything else in life other than fighting this and what's happening. It just, you're attacking civilians for no reason, and you're attacking a mosque. So it just, something that you can't just leave it. So we said, look, we're staying here. Whatever happens, it will happen. So I have been arrested that day. They tried to make it easy for us. I went out with a few marks, but that was the easy form for them. I had broken nose, few marks on my back, my clothes are, apart all. So yeah, I've been arrested at that day I went there for around a month. They take me to first to the police center. From the police center, they went to call it the main guard station or police station in the city. From there, they do what they call it a mock investigation. That you just go in to the officer and he asks you, were you protesting? Of course, your answer is no. So he said, look, you get some beats by a stick or anything on your face or something, they hit you a few things just to say yes and you won't say it. So, and they leave you out. You go in, they send you to the main prison in the city they call it, at that time we have that you can't go in without any conviction. It just, they decide to leave you in, so you go in until they decide to leave you out. And I went there for 1 month, then few applications to release me. My dad, who done that, at the third one, they said, look, leave. So they just leave me. And was the first time I've been arrested, Next step, after 50 days from that release, because and actually, I think this moves from the government, it was a mistake. It was their mistake. Because what happens is they gather all the people who have the same ideas in one place where they can sit and talk freely. And that's what's happened. Actually, we gathered within the prison with many people who we didn't know before, but they all have the same, thinking. We have to do the same thing. We have the same ideas. So when we went out, we were a bigger group. So what happened is we went to a bigger group and we gathered more. We have a movement to do something out of the mosque, because that mosque that we did in it the last time, it was kind of destroyed. They break it from the inside, they destroy it internally, so it's not usable anymore. So they close it. That mosque was closed at that day. So we gathered to discuss about where we can go, which streets, which way, how we can go and run away before they come, things like that. So how you can protest with the least loses.
And it's interesting what you said about how gathering you all in the one place and was a mistake. And it reminds me of my ancestors during the Irish War of Independence were all sent to prison in Wales. And something very similar happened.
Exactly.
Where all the Irish prisoners were gathered together and they became even more strong in their beliefs and organised even more. So that's interesting. And just to, in the months that followed then, Aleppo in particular suffered. And we saw some really awful pictures here in Ireland of a city that was, destroyed really. And what happened that escalated the situation? It led to foreign intervention and a lot of destruction and death.
Let's come back to the things, how it happens. So what happens is after I released, as I said, we went to a bigger group and small groups gathered together, and now they know each other, and now the protest gets bigger and more reliable. So we know, we share ideas, we share everything, so we know when to do it, where to do it, how to do it, and how we can run away from the security without even anyone has been arrested. So things gets worse and worse in Aleppo as a city, but there was no guns at that time in my city. There was, and starting of July, there was guns started to be found between the hands of the protesters in many other cities like Homs, Hama, Dara. They start to be armed because there they started to be shooting before even in Aleppo. Until July in Aleppo, there was no one, or 2-3 people only that has been killed by the army or the security. But afterwards, when we start I went to jail again after 50 days. So I went for around 3 months at that time. So by that time I was in jail. The groups that, mostly I know, they gather together, they make a bigger protests where the government forced to use guns, to use, fire, direct fire on the people to stop them or to let them go. So, which was the same what happens in other cities, and they saw the results, but they still do the same thing. They did it in Aleppo in between August, September, and October, and then start finding guns in the hands of the protesters. Starts from the suburb first, outside the city, because they have easy way to get guns, easier places so they can hide it, they can move with it. It's easier, much easier outside the city. So it starts from there, and then in August 2012, after 1 year exactly, group of opposition who was armed fully, they came to the city, they take over one city, one place, or one area, and then they go to the other. They take, or actually the government who allows them. I see that the government allows them to take over that places, because they take over all the poor areas who have the ability to accept them, who people who you know they support them actually. And for the government, they don't care about that areas, so they let them in. And that was also another mistake from the government, that they allow armed people to go in there, and when they went in there they couldn't take them out again. But that was another reason for the government to start bombing that area. In 2012, in August, when they start taking over, in about 1 month they're taking about 50% of the city. So the rebels taking over half of the city. The government, they just focused on the big security centers in Aleppo, and they keep them all the way till now. Like they couldn't even the rebels, they couldn't even be close to them. So what happens is they start the fighting, and then for the government there was no fighting on the ground. All the thing that they do is the bombing from air. And for the rebels, they don't have anti-air weapons, and they are not allowed to take over those kind of weapons. So what they can do is try to win underground, but then if you don't have the air, it's no point. So they go for a little while and then pushed back again by air forces. So they start bombing those areas, and those areas already are kind of poor constructed. And then bombing, and some there's no organizing for anything. They just go out, go up. Look, you have this 2-3 barrels, just throw them there. Wherever it comes, it comes. Whatever it kills, it kills. That what they want. They don't really care. They just destroy everything. And because of that, they destroy 70% of the city. And for the government, it's nothing. But many people have been killed. Like now, the city itself, it was 6 million population. Now it's less than 1 million. Because of what happened, they're not all killed, but mostly leave the city, because it's.
And can I ask, Simon, did you lose anyone yourself in terms of family or friends?
Yes, actually, my family, I lost around 5 cousins until now. So there's 5 cousins who's killed by the government. I have friends. I have one of my close friends who has been arrested and never come back since now. He's arrested in 2011, so now it's around 10 years, and nobody knows if he's alive, he's dead. Yeah. So many people who lost. I have all my neighborhood where I was, as I said, where I grew up. That place, it was the first place that the rebels take over. It was Salah ad-Din, so they take that area, and all the people who was living there, they forced to leave because of the bombing of the government. So there was no one of my neighborhood stays in the same place, so I can't even know where they are at the moment.
It's no wonder when I hear you speak about why people would want to
Like,
leave at
just,
that point and find safety.
Nah, exactly. Like it just you can't be safe in that in Syria. It just I didn't leave that days because I was out of Syria since August, even 2012. In the middle of August, I just left the country because I said like it's no point for me to stay there.